doing everything in our, what we call, to do what we call.
Are you unified as a party?
What's the question?
It's a question. Are you unified?
We?
Yes, as MK?
No, I'm incredible. Hey, who told you I said we're unified?
No one told me. I'm asking. It's a question. Are you
Why
unified?
are you asking this
It's
question?
an important question.
How is it? We are unified.
Okay.
We are, definitely.
Are you ready for your trial that's happening in mid-April?
We are ready for anything that is coming on our way.
Just last question, Mr. President, I'd like to ask you what your views are regarding the expulsion of the original Zuma ambassador. How do you think we have handled this whole debacle as a country?
I'm not going to be talking about that. Now we are asking something you said we are not going to ask. You wanted to ask how is this going? And I'm responding on the basis of that. Now you want to tell me about some people, someone.
I'm just curious of your views. You were president of the Republic. I'm just curious of your views.
No, I've got my views, but I always look after my views. I don't worry them.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to tell me about the party? I asked you if you're unified. You said what kind of question is that?
The party is wonderful. The party is wonderful. It's growing like we've never seen before.
Okay.
That was the last question.
I, as the decision-making body of Mkhonto Wesizwe, so I'm receiving a report on the work of the organization since last year, but also determining what will be the program of action moving forward from Mkhonto Wesizwe. What is inspiring about the work of the organization of Mkhonto Wesizwe now is the rapid and speedy growth of our membership and support in all corners of South Africa. There's beginning to be some parity in terms of the interest of Mkhonto Wesizwe. You will know that from the 2024 general elections, the three provinces accounted for more than 80% of the support of Mkhonto Wesizwe, which was KwaZulu-Natal, Gauteng, and Mpumalanga. But currently, in terms of the membership numbers that we are receiving, we are beginning to see substantial growth of membership from all other provinces, inclusive of the Capes, Limpopo, Northwest, Free State. So the organization is on the correct path to consolidate the ground for the battles ahead. So we are having a very solid organization, but also this meeting is the first meeting where we have full participation of the leadership of the MK Women's League, of the MK Youth League, and the MK Students Movement. So we are now welcoming those members, but also the leadership of the other provinces where the leadership structures were appointed in the provinces of Gauteng, Limpopo, Mpumalanga, Northwest, Free State. And of course, we have then now defined a journey as to how do we constitute structures in the Western, Northern, and Eastern Capes, which are the provinces that do not have leadership structures, but have membership. But otherwise, we're on a correct path in terms of how we're dealing with these issues. We will communicate the decisions of the National High Command in a press conference next week, which is going to take place or after the by-elections, which we are going to win. So after the 2nd of April. So on the 3rd of April, we'll schedule a press conference to also announce the fact that by that time we'll have won by-elections in Pongola Ward 12 and in Watukuza Ward 28. Those are the ones which Mkhonto Wesizwe is going to definitely win, and the press conference will happen after that. So that is basically what we're up to.
The 0.5 percentage point rate hike, and then is there a possibility of working with the ANC in a reconfigured government rate?
So the ANC has not approached Mkhonto Wesizwe to discuss the budget, so there is no such a thing. I think even the representative of the ANC was saying that they raised it in the Chief Whips Forum. So there's never been any bilateral engagement between Mkhonto Wesizwe and the ANC on the budget process. Even if they were to approach Umkhonto weSizwe, we are never going to agree on the increase of VAT, even by 0.1%. We think that poor people are going to be the most affected by the increase on VAT. Rich people do not have price sensitivity. They buy anything for whatever price. But poor people are sensitive to just the little amounts of money which they earn from otherwise very difficult work which they do in many instances. So we're never going to agree, we're never going to even entertain an idea of discussing whether we must permit the increase of VAT as part of the budgeting options. There's several alternatives which our public representatives have presented, which should constitute the alternate to increasing the value-added tax in South Africa's budgeting framework. And I think that before the ANC approaches Umkhonto weSizwe, they should have made a public announcement already that there's not going to be any VAT increase. That is the only way. The only mandate which our members of parliament have in relation to the current budget is to reject it as long as it contains the increase on value-added tax, which is going to affect our people. So there's never going to be any discussion. We are not entertaining the idea of co-governing with the African National Congress or co-governing within the government of national unity. You know that Umkhonto weSizwe is still challenging the legitimacy of the electoral outcomes of 2024. The outcomes of that might take us to government. But also, if that doesn't happen, we are consolidating the ground so that come 2026 and 2029, Umkhonto weSizwe achieves a decisive victory in the elections. And that is what we're focusing on. We want to govern South Africa, and we will govern South Africa as Umkhonto weSizwe alone, without coalition with right-wing forces or former liberation movements that have sold out the agenda for real and true emancipation and freedom. South African government appoints as an ambassador to the United States is an issue of those who are in government now. Let them choose whoever they want to choose. It's not our issue. But what we have always been saying and will continue to say is that as things stand, South Africa needs to prioritize its relationships with the countries in the BRICS bloc, which is Brazil, Russia, India, and China, and the plus component of the United Arab Emirates, the Federative Republic of Ethiopia, the Islamic Republic of Iran, Republica Argentina, and all the other progressive countries in the world, but also must intensify intra-African trade, that we take our goods and products to the African continent. This over-reliance and dependence on the American market is subjecting us to ridicule, is subjecting us to being treated like our children. Umkhonto weSizwe is the most united organization in South Africa. They are anonymous elements that we do not know. There's never been anyone who came to a meeting of Umkhonto weSizwe to express a view about any of its leaders. Not in this meeting, not in any provincial meeting. There's never been anyone who came to say that the national chairperson, deputy chair, secretary general is not suitable. The people who are trying to say that are faceless, cowards, who have never said that in any meeting of Umkhonto weSizwe. As far as we're concerned, we've got a solid and united leadership that is reading from the same hymn book. We are on the same agenda of consolidating the structures of the organization. There's robust engagement internally in terms of the direction of the organization. It happens in that way when the organization is growing, that there will be different perspectives on the pace, on the form and content of its growth. But the organization is growing, and we are not aware of any dissenting voices. And of course, if there are dissenting voices, we'll listen to them, because we're an organization that is transparent and engages with all views that are brought to our attention. But thus far, there is no one who has got a name and surname and an ID number who has come to say that they've got concerns about the direction of the organization. We don't know anyone of that nature.
What about
no one.
What about
I think the issue of Mr. Duzile is handled elsewhere as part of the disciplinary issues, but there's never been any member of Umkhonto weSizwe who came to a formal structure of Umkhonto weSizwe to any meeting to express any view about the leadership direction of Umkhonto weSizwe. That is the absolute fact. So there is nowhere in the minutes of Umkhonto we or even in the records of who says what, where. There's never been anyone who raised concerns about the direction of the organization in the manner that it is. And if they raise those issues, we'll then get to listen to them and then be able to clarify as to just how do we move forward. But otherwise, we're not concerned about all those issues. What our concern is now is to establish presence in all the voting districts, in all the wards, in all the municipalities, in all the districts, and then prepare for victory in the upcoming election.